discussing here, I thought it was really very appropriate for me to be present here because human rights is an issue which is so relevant to the Tibetans. Yes. You know, I'm coming from Tibet and I've been a refugee in India for the last 47 years. And, you know, when you think of why, like the work of the Tibetan Children's Village and why we have been in exile for so long, it's because our country has been occupied and there is, you know, occupied by the communist China, and our people have no rights at all. So when you talk in the world of human rights and how very important it is, I mean, the greatest population is, you know, in the world is China. And that country which has the greatest population doesn't at all respect the human rights of the people. So I think that's also something which is to be questioned. And also, how can one tackle that? And the way that one can tackle is through education. Because in India, ever since we came as refugees in 1959 to India, one of the main things that His Holiness felt that we must do while we are in exile is to give our children a good education, a modern education, but also at the same time an education which was very deeply rooted in our own culture, our religion, you know, to keep all that up so that we would not lose our identity. And I think for people to retain their identity is the most important thing. Because if you have your identity, you have something of the self. Like Dr. Heynen was saying, the most important thing is to find yourself. And I think the way to find yourself is to be, you know, to be rooted in some sort of a culture, something that you believe in, something that you respect. Because if you have that, I think you have human dignity. If you don't have that, you're kind of lost. So in our case, we gave our children a good education. And the main reason why we gave our children that good education is because of the fact that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, as early as 1960, he introduced a Tibetan, you know, government in exile in India, and that government in exile was to function under a, you know, democratic system. So we have a constitution, even though we have no country. But then, because we have fled from our country, we live in exile, we have, you know, over 130,000 Tibetan refugees now in exile. We consider ourselves as a people in exile, as a people in exile who believe that their country has been taken over, that we are fighting for our rights. And that what we are fighting for is a legitimate right. And to have that, I think, you know, even though the time might go on, we have been in exile for 47 years. It's a long time in the life of a person. But in the history of a country, it's not a long time. So as long as we are in exile, we feel that to give our young people a good education is so important. Because if you have a good education, education is something which empowers the people. And with that empowerment of education, you can fight for your rights. We uphold the rights of the child for our children. And we uphold that rights of the child because we feel the children are the future. If we know how to take care of our children, if we know how to educate them and bring them up properly, then I think, you know, the future is secure.
Ich denke, die Menschenwürde hat in den letzten Jahren sehr große Aufmerksamkeit erlangt. Einerseits durch die enormen Entwicklungen im Bereich der Biotechnologie. Wenn man bedenkt, die Möglichkeit des artifiziell modifizierbaren Menschen, die Frage des Erbgutes, der Integrität, der körperlichen Integrität des Menschen, hat existenzielle Fragen des Menschseins aufgeworfen. Auf der anderen Seite hatten wir seit 2001 einige besorgniserregende Entwicklungen im Bereich des Kampfes gegen den Terrorismus. Es gab dann einige Relativierungen im Bereich des Völkerrechts, des internationalen Menschenrechtsschutzes, und hier haben sich ganz automatisch Fragen der Menschenwürde gestellt. Ich nenne als Beispiel etwa die Frage des in Deutschland gerade diskutierten Luftverkehrsgesetzes. Darf man etwa ein Passagierflugzeug abschießen, welches von einem Kidnapper entführt wurde? Was ist zum Beispiel mit der Behandlung von potenziellen Terroristen? Dürfen die gefoltert werden, um ihnen wichtige Informationen zu entlocken? Also insofern haben wir heute aufgrund der aktuellen Ereignisse eine große und breite Diskussion zu allen Facetten der Menschenrechte und der Menschenwürde